The Longhorns made some big plays during their home opener and secured a sweep versus Big Green Dartmouth baseball. Vic Schaefer and the women's basketball team have won 10 straight and become the number one ranked team in the nation. And softball went on a dominant winning streak after a loss to Stanford. All this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. My name is Ayan Masud, hosting alongside Max Dagley. Before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. Texas baseball hit their home diamond this weekend after some chilly scheduling conflicts. The 16th-ranked Texas Longhorns added 3 victories over the weekend. On Friday, it began with back-to-back singles for Max Ballou and Kimball Schuessler during the first inning, but it was Jalen Flores who put the ball high into right field, resulting in the sac fly that led Schuessler to come home for the first run at Disch Falk Field. It was a rough outing for Dartmouth in the first couple of innings, with Tommy Farmer striking into outfield for the 2-out RBI double. Later, with the second, after back-to-back walks, with 2 outs on the board, Jared Spencer was able to end the inning. Schuessler then would return the favor from Jalen Flores, adding a sac fly for himself. Dartmouth would battle throughout the game to make it 3-4, but Texas held on, forcing the needed outs to secure the 4-3 W on Friday. Texas would go on to beat Dartmouth Saturday 3-2, and on Sunday winning 4-1. And since that first loss against Louisville, that now makes 5 straight wins for Coach Schloss's ball club. This past Sunday, our very own Ryan Hopper covered the series finale, in which he highlighted an unlikely hero. Here's what he had to say.
I'm here at Disch Falk Field, where Texas completed the series sweep of Dartmouth with a 4-1 victory today. The Bats were pretty cold this series, but a catalyst for the offense came from the number 9 spot in the order. Sophomore Ethan Mendoza, who went 3 for 4 today with a solo homer off the right field foul pole and a seeing eye RBI single that gave Texas a huge insurance run in the 8th inning. Mendoza, a lifelong Texas fan from Bedford, Texas, was recruited heavily by Coach Schlossnagle out of high school to go to A&M when Schlossnagle was the coach there. Ultimately, he decided to go to Arizona State, but after Schlossnagle took the job in Austin, Mendoza knew Austin may be the home for him. Today, he made a huge impact, and when he saw that ball hit the foul pole, it's just one of those times where a lifelong dream has been fulfilled.
I mean, it was probably like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, like first home run at the stadium, and I mean, the fans were awesome today. I mean, they all showed out on Sunday, and just like props to them for being here. It was awesome.
I'm Ryan Hopper for TSTV Sports.
What a solid home opening weekend for Texas baseball. And now for more, let's go to tonight's co-host for the first time, Max Dagley. Max?
Thanks, Ayan. I'm here alongside with Robert Gonsoulin to talk about Jim Schlossnagle's Texas baseball. How are you doing, Robert?
I'm doing well, Max. Thanks for having me on. It was a great weekend of baseball at the Dish.
It absolutely was. So Texas baseball swept Dartmouth in their first true series of the year. What was your biggest takeaway about this team from the past weekend?
Well, Max, I definitely say it was their ability to play defense. Through the first 2 games of the series, Dartmouth had earned a total of 12 hits on Texas and even hit them 7-6 in the first game. While the Longhorns were giving up a lot, they left a total of 18 Dartmouth runners on base to end innings and prevent players from scoring. This came from the help of Jared Spencer and Andre Duplanier, who were able to strike batters out and prevent Dartmouth from making contact with the ball. Otherwise, Texas would have been challenged with making decisions that would have earned the force out at first or second base, like giving up some runs. By the third game, Texas had only managed to give up 3 hits as starting pitcher Cade Bing eventually settled in after giving up an early run, and then he was relieved by Dylan Volantis, who only gave up 1 hit and no walks. The Longhorns were able to score on offense, but it was the ability to keep the ball between the pitcher and the catcher that gave them the ability to win this game.
Yeah, to your point, the defense did ultimately improve as each game progressed. But you mentioned the offense at the end of the game. How would you evaluate their ability to score?
Yeah, so the offense definitely didn't perform as highly this past weekend as they did back in Arlington, but that is a pretty high standard. Max Ballou had a solid series, getting a hit in each game and scoring a couple of runs. And while the team didn't win by a high margin in any of the games this past weekend, Coach Schloss said yesterday that he was okay with the team getting picked off or thrown every now and then out at second base because the team was being aggressive. It was avoiding hesitation that they wanted to focus on moving forward. We did see Tommy Farmer steal a base and Cade being pick off a runner at first yesterday, which constituted the level of aggressiveness that Texas wants to match. If the Longhorns want to keep up with other SEC opponents, they're going to have to capitalize on these chances in games to be risky instead of scoring just enough runs that got them by against Dartmouth.
Yeah, Dartmouth certainly appears to be less of a test than future SEC opponents this year. So moving ahead, what does the Texas offense need to do in order to have success over Incarnate Word and their upcoming trip to Las Vegas?
Yeah, so they have 4 games this week. One game against Incarnate Word on Tuesdays where they'll first start. So they definitely need to come out stronger and make more contact with the ball earlier. Texas's highest scoring inning against Dartmouth consisted of only 2 runs, and that was during the first inning of the entire series. More players in the batting order will need to step up and help contribute to longer innings. We, of course, saw that yesterday from Ethan Mendoza, who had 3 hits, including a home run, as the 9th batter in the entire lineup. Players like Rylan Galvan and Casey Borba are a few players who Texas fans could hope to see help extend innings. Galvan earned a hit in each game of the Arlington series, but then went 0 for 7 against Dartmouth. Meanwhile, Borba has only had 3 at-bats this season, so we're yet to see his full in-game potential. For Texas to have a successful run of games this week, the hits they earn need to be more spread out amongst the entire batting order.
Yeah, I think best case scenario for Texas, it could just be an early season slump. Bats haven't woken up yet. But thanks for joining us again, Robert. Let's go back to Ayan at the desk.
Well appreciated, guys. When College Press Box returns, Texas women's basketball can hardly be stopped. Joseph Duffey returns to talk about what he expects in the final few games of action, and you won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas women's basketball still controls their own destiny, just a few games away from the SEC tournament. For more, let's go to Ayan with a special guest.
Thanks, Max. I'm alongside our very own executive producer, Joseph Duffey. Welcome back. We're happy to have you on the segment.
Yeah, glad to talk about the best team on the campus, really.
So the team earned its first number 1 seed in 21 years after an incredible past 2 weeks of signature victories. Why is this so well-deserved, Texas, in your viewpoint?
Yeah, it's been an up and down season for all of NCAA basketball in terms of women's basketball. A lot of different number 1 teams. You've seen UCLA go down. You've seen also Notre Dame go down to NC State. And the resume speaks for itself, Ian. When you can go to Lexington and take care of business, defeat a perennial powerhouse in South Carolina at home, and then defeat another legend in Kim Mulkey in a dramatic comeback victory, you definitely deserve all of the praise and all of the hype. It also helped that number 1 Notre Dame with Coach Neil Ivey and Han Hidalgo were upset against NC State in double overtime, but I do believe that Vic Schaefer's squad would have earned this honor anyways. The 26-2 Longhorns have sure been dealt a rough hand with unfortunate injuries with the likes of Rory Harmon and Aaliyah Moore and even Liz Scott, depending how far you want to stretch back in years past. But this year the Longhorns remained pretty healthy, and with that solid health they have been a well-oiled machine. Now, when you have Rory Harmon that is top 5 in assists and hardly turns the ball over and a consistently present top 10 bench that can keep the offense rolling, even when she's not handling the rock, field goals are going to be made. This team is so balanced and they hardly have a weak point. And most of the credit, as it should, goes to Coach Vic Schaefer that has brought back a winning culture to Texas women's basketball. Now, I'm also glad that the Hall of Famer Jody Conrad gets to see such high level of play once again for our Longhorns.
Speaking of people watch high-level play, Texas women's basketball has really brought out the best in Moody Center. Why is this so significant for this Texas program?
Yeah, like I said last week on Texas News Primetime, it sure is beautiful to see these ladies get the love and respect that they so desperately deserve from the Longhorn faithful. I recall the beginning of the season, Coach Schaefer was displeased at his team's lack of exposure on Austin news circuits. He has clearly been confident in this team really since day one. To see the Moody Center selling out consistently during their dominant run is so well deserved. Some of the best crowds in college basketball this year, regardless of men or women, has been the Moody Center and the games that they have played there. South Carolina drew 10,517 fans on Super Bowl Sunday afternoon, and then messed around and drew 10,542, welcoming the Tigers to Austin en route to a dramatic come-from-behind victory in front of that sellout crowd. What an incredible show they have put on, especially in Austin this season.
Yeah, the numbers of attendance speaks for itself, and the play does too, but it's almost tournament season, and with the SEC tournament looming, who do you see Texas playing in the first round of the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I get it's early, and the SEC tournament begins March 6th, and with Texas controlling their destiny, closing their season against unranked opponents, it's hard for me to see Texas losing another conference game in the regular season. With that being said, Texas should get their well-deserved bye and face likely a middle-of-the-pack team in Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, or even Mississippi State. However, I think that Texas' opponent will be the 8th seed that wins in the second round, and I predict will be Kim Caldwell and the Tennessee Lady Volunteers. The Lady Vols have had some heartbreaking losses this year to Texas and to the Gamecocks, but I believe that they will have the opportunity to get their revenge against the Longhorns in the third round of the SEC tournament. Tennessee has really found their groove recently as winners of 4 straight to sit at 8-6 in conference play. They have the players, but the question is, can they match up with the SEC's best? Now, I'm not so sure that they can, but rest assured, Texas women's basketball will be ready.
Thanks for joining us, Joe. I'll send it back to Max at the desk.
Thank you both for that analysis. When College Pressbox returns, we'll talk about Texas softball that just completed the Hillenbrand Invitational with Zoe Frigilana. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Texas softball competed at the Hillenbrand Invitational in Arizona this past weekend. For more, let's go to Max.
Thanks again, Ayan. I'm here with Zoe Frigilana. Thanks for coming back on, Zoe.
Of course, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me again.
So early in the softball season, in your opinion, how has this team started out, and what are some key players that you're interested in watching this season?
Well, although the season is still really early, Texas is definitely proving themselves worthy of that #1 spot in the AP poll. With a lot of hype and talk around the team's expectations, and coming off the bitter World Series loss last season, Texas is showing poise in their most recent performances. Coming off of a huge win at the Hillenbrand Invitational in Arizona and heading home with 4 wins, we were able to get a good look at Texas dynamic and see how some key players are stepping up to the plate. Texas started out the weekend with a shocking loss to number 20 Stanford. The Cardinals' offense came out of the gate strong, leaving the Longhorns to play a little bit of catch-up. Unfortunately, though, once they were able to tie up the score, Stanford left the Longhorns in the dust after a 3-run homer by Joey Incomanitas. Despite starting off on a bad foot, Texas was able to turn it around for the remainder of their time in Tucson. Minutes after the loss, Texas used that fiery energy and anger to defeat Colorado State University, showcasing their powerful offense with a score of 18-2. Mac Morgan proved a key player in this game, pitching all 5 innings and facing 18 batters. The senior was able to limit the Rams to 2 runs on 2 hits, while walking 2 and striking out 1. This showcasing of strong defense, smart pitching, and good game management was seen throughout the rest of the weekend against UC Davis and Arizona as well. Texas was able to have a lot of fun on Saturday against UC Davis by beating them 12-0. Texas gave their fans a bit more of a nail-biter against Arizona, forcing the game into extra innings, but proved the more dominant team under pressure. Sophomore Caden Henry sealed the game with a huge home run hit in the top of the 8th. 2 bases of the 3 were loaded to rack in 3 more points. With these first few performances early in the season, I think it's easy to say that Texas has the talent to go far. I really look forward to watching junior Reese Atwood lead this team, proving herself in her first 2 seasons as a Longhorn, earning the Big 12 Player of the Year award last year, and entering this season ranked 3rd overall in the nation by Softball America. Atwood has a lot to prove. Sophomore pitcher Tegan Cavan, ending her freshman year with a 20-3 pitching record and earning Big 12 Freshman of the Year award, has a lot of expectations to fill as well, but I can already say she's meeting those expectations. When Texas played the Red Raiders last Sunday, Cavan struck out 18 batters, being the first Longhorn since 2006 to do so. A couple days following her outstanding performance, Cavan was named the SEC's Pitcher of the Week and was chosen as the NFCA National Pitcher of the Week. I think it's safe to say that this Texas team has a lot of key players and great leadership that will make them the team to watch out for this season.
Certainly, and with all that success they had in the Big 12 last season, there's definitely a new standard within that program.
Yeah.
But now being in the SEC, do you think they face more challenges and bigger threats?
I think we can all agree that the SEC is the most powerful conference in collegiate softball right now. 5 of the 8 teams that advanced to the 2024 World Series are now SEC teams, that being Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas. But while I have no doubt in Texas' talents, I will say they have a hefty conference schedule ahead of them and will be facing some testing challenges along the way. The start of conference play in Gainesville, Florida will be the true testament of this Texas team. The Longhorns will go on to face off against 8 top 25 ranked SEC teams, 4 of them currently ranked top 10. Texas must stay consistent with pitching performances and keep their pitchers healthy throughout the long season. If Texas can maintain their strong defense, though, in the infield and outfield, it will continue to be hard for teams to put up points against the Horns. Texas has a very powerful batting lineup. Players like Caden Henry and Ashton Maloney are key components to Texas offense with averages of .490 and .451 at bat. Making sure hitters are able to adjust in various offensive situations will be crucial in putting up points. With high levels of talent among these SEC teams, I think it will come down to close games and small margins. Texas needs to focus on smart gameplay decisions against conference teams. I think what can separate Texas from these other teams is their mental toughness and strong team culture. With most of the team consisting of returning players, they will be able to apply past experiences and provide their guidance to their teammates. I think one of the most important factors for success for the Longhorns will be maintaining a healthy lineup and stamina throughout the season. Going from Big 12 to SEC play will be an adjustment in the level of softball that these girls are seeing later in the season. Of the last 27 games for the Longhorns, 24 will be SEC contests and very important in determining the Longhorns' postseason. But with a chip on their shoulder from last year's NCAA finals, I have no doubt in me that Texas will make their opening appearance in the SEC known.
It's certainly exciting with their inaugural season in the SEC, but I think one can argue that fans are even more excited about that rematch with Oklahoma.
Yes.
With the history those two teams have with each other, how do you see Texas facing them this year?
Well, it's definitely no secret that the 4-time defending national championships are a threat to the Longhorns. Head coach Patty Gasso has established Oklahoma as a dominating powerhouse in collegiate softball, having taken the championship from them by the Sooners in 2022 and 2024. I don't see Texas letting another opportunity pass them by. Although Oklahoma has been performing well, it is still very early in the season, and the team is working with a different dynamic. Having lost a ton of seniors and losing star pitcher Jordan Ball to the Nebraska Huskers, the Sooners were not able to retain the top spot in the poll. Instead, they were bested by Texas. But as Reese Atwood said, Texas is not focused on rankings, they're focused on giving it their best no matter who they're playing. With the sting of a heartbreaking championship defeat still lingering, I believe it's fueling this Texas team. The weight of the Texas-OU rivalry is significant, and if Texas wants to be the one to take the title this year, they're going to have to make a few adjustments. From last year, whether that be a more disciplined defense or adjusting to Oklahoma's pitching. The emotional edge of the rivalry can be a positive factor to Texas if they manage it well. They will need to channel these historical losses into motivation and consistent performances. The two teams will face each other in late April in Oklahoma, but Love's Field will be no challenge for the Horns as these girls maintain good composure away from home. I also expect nothing less of Longhorn Nation to make their presence known in Norman to support these women. This Texas team is running on a prove-it mentality right now, and they want to show the world that last season's results were a lesson towards this season's execution, and they're here to finish what they started last year.
Yeah, late April can't come soon enough. I know many fans have that day circled on their calendars. Thank you for joining us, Zoe. Back to you at the desk, Ian.
Thank you, Max and Zoe. When we return to College Press Box, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and see what's ahead. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. Although it's been pretty cold here in Austin, the number 1 Texas men's and number 2 Texas women's swim and dive team have been on a hot streak. The men recently clinched their 46th consecutive conference championship. The women also won their 13th straight conference title, also beating Florida by a total of 271 points. Texas's Emma Sticklin was named co-SEC Swimmer of the Week, and it was their first SEC title for the men, but this streak dates back to Texas's time in the Southwest Conference with Bob Bowman as head coach, and so his streak continues.
The 15th ranked Longhorns beach volleyball team went undefeated at the Third Coast College Classic on Sunday, racking up wins against Houston, UTEP, and Houston Christian. The duo of Ava Patton and Kylie Wickley finished the weekend 5-0 with wins at both the 3 and 4 positions, and the Longhorns picked up 2 sweeps in 2 of the 3 victories. They take the sand this Friday for their home debut on Friday and Saturday at the Longhorn Invitational.
Despite a 29-point performance from star Trey Johnson, the Texas men's basketball team fell to the South Carolina Gamecocks in a trip to Columbia, South Carolina. This was South Carolina's first conference win this season, and Texas's chance to make the coveted March Madness tournament have now slimmed by a large margin. Now, let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. On Wednesday the 26th, baseball will take on Arkansas at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. This Thursday on the 27th, women's basketball will face Mississippi State in Starkville at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Friday will be a loaded day for Texas. The 28th will have the Longhorn Invitational / Las Vegas Classic for softball versus South Florida on SEC Network Plus, softball versus Abilene Christians at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus, and baseball will take on Washington at 8 p.m. on D1 Baseball. On Saturday, the Longhorns will continue the Las Vegas Classic as softball takes on New Mexico State at 1:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Baseball takes on in-state rival Texas Tech at 6 p.m. on D1 Baseball. And then men's basketball will take on the Georgia Bulldogs at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. For Sunday's slate of games, the Longhorn Invitational / Las Vegas Classic will continue. Softball will take on South Florida at 12:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Baseball will take on Illinois at 1 p.m. on D1 Baseball, and softball will play Alabama A&M at 3 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. The day will end there with women's basketball playing Florida at 1 p.m. on the SEC Network.
And that will conclude this week's edition of College Press Box. Please make sure to tune into our other sports show this week, including College Crossfire Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m., the 1-0 Show sports show on Fridays at 11 a.m., and we also invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer, Joseph Duffey, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Max Dagley. He's Ayan Masud. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.